The twin moons of Nexus 9 cast a silvery glow over the lush valley where Zara knelt in the soil. Her purple skin shimmered with a faint luminescence as she carefully placed another seedling into the ground. The habitat she was creating wasn't just a home, it was a living symphony of plants from her homeworld, Lyria. Each required specific care, specific placement. Her slender fingers worked methodically, the dirt collecting under her nails. Another late night. "I see," came a voice from the edge of the clearing. Zara didn't need to look up to recognize Elias Parker, the human xenobotanist who'd been observing her work for the past week. His footsteps were distinct, hesitant, yet determined. "The nightshade blossoms open only under moonlight," she replied. Her voice melodic with the slight accent of someone who'd learned English as a third language. "They require immediate planting once they emerge." Elias moved closer, crouching beside her to examine the delicate blue flowers. "Fascinating. On Earth, nightshade is typically poisonous. On Lyria, they purify the air," Zara said. "My people believe they carry dreams between worlds." Elias smiled, but Zara noticed the sadness that never quite left his eyes. The research station personnel whispered about his past, how he'd lost his wife and daughter when the Europa station suffered catastrophic decompression 3 years ago. How he'd volunteered for this remote assignment to escape memories. "I've brought you something," he said. Reaching into his pack, he pulled out a small container. "Soil samples from the northern ridge. Higher mineral content that might benefit your crystalline vines." Zara accepted the container, their fingers brushing momentarily. She felt the warmth of his skin against her cooler temperature. A reminder of their biological differences. "You understand what I'm trying to create here?" she said. Not quite a question. Elias nodded. "A living environment that sustains itself. A piece of your home on this new world. The Coalition allowed me this land as part of the diplomatic exchange, but they don't truly understand its importance." Zara stood, stretching her back after hours of planting. "My kind needs connection to our botanical heritage too. Thrive, while humans just need prefabricated habitation units and processed food," Leah said with a self-deprecating smile. "No wonder we've spread across 3 star systems like a virus. Yet you're here." "Helping me," Zara observed, studying his face in the moonlight. The angles of his features were so different from her people's, sharper, more defined. Elias looked across the half-finished garden. The partially constructed living structure that would eventually become Zara's home. "I suppose I recognize someone building something meaningful when I see it." His voice grew quieter. "I haven't felt that way myself in a long time." Zara hesitated, then said, "The nightshade requires another 2 hours of planting. If you wish to assist, ... double quotes the smile that transformed. Elise's face made Zara feel a strange flutter in her chest. Physiological response she hadn't experienced before around humans. "I'd like that," he said, rolling up his sleeves. "Show me what to do." Under the twin moons, the human and the Lyrian worked side by side, fingers in the soil, planting seeds that would grow into something neither of them could fully envision yet. 2 individuals from different worlds, each nursing private wounds, finding unexpected common ground in a garden of alien flowers. 2 weeks had passed since Elias first offered his help in Zara's garden. Now he arrived each evening after his research duties, carrying soil samples or seedlings he discovered that might complement her botanical sanctuary. Today, he brought something different. "Rain is coming," he announced, setting down a collection of curved panels. "I thought we might work on the roof section of your living quarters." Zara looked up from where she was, coaxing luminescent vines to climb a trellis structure. The vines responded to her touch, curling more vigorously as if recognizing her purple skin's bioenergy. "The Lyrian dwelling patterns require specific angles to collect water," she explained, approaching the panels. "The moisture feeds directly into the root systems below." "I've been studying the designs you showed me," Elias said, unfolding a tablet with modified blueprints. "I think these adaptations will work with local materials while maintaining the principles your people use." Zara studied his work, impressed by how quickly he'd grasped concepts that had taken her people generations to perfect. You've incorporated the resonance chambers for sound amplification. Elias nodded, a slight flush coloring his cheeks. You mentioned how your people communicate with certain plants through harmonic vibrations. I thought it was important to preserve that functionality. They worked through the afternoon, fitting panels into place. The physical labor required them to stand close, hands occasionally touching as they stabilized sections. Each contact sent an unexpected warmth through Zara's typically cool skin. May I ask something personal? Elias said as they secured the final panel before sunset. Zara tilted her head curiously. You may. Why come to Nexus 9 alone? Most diplomatic exchanges involve teams of representatives. Zara's luminescence dimmed slightly a physiological response to emotional intensity that she couldn't control. I volunteered, she said softly. After the civil conflict on Lyria, many of our botanical heritage sites were destroyed. I hoped to preserve what remains by establishing this garden. She paused. Also, I lost my family in the final bombardment. There was little left for me there. Understanding passed between them, a bridge formed of shared loss. The first night after it happened, Elias said, his voice barely audible above the evening breeze. I kept reaching across the bed, expecting to find her there. Zara nodded. On Lyria, we believe the essence of those we've lost returns to the soil, nurturing new life. That is why our gardens are sacred spaces. The first raindrops began to fall, pattering against their newly constructed roof. Inside, the sound reverberated through the chambers, creating a subtle melody that made the luminescent plants pulse brighter. It's working, Elias whispered. Watching the harmonic response of the plants, Zara felt something unlock within. Her door, she had kept firmly shut since leaving her homeworld. Without thinking, she reached for Elias's hand. Thank you, she said, for understanding what I'm trying to preserve. His fingers intertwined with hers. An alien sensation that somehow felt right. Maybe we're both trying to preserve something, he replied. They stood together, as rain transformed their shared creation into a living instrument, playing music only plants could fully comprehend. The habitat flourished under their combined care. What began as scattered plantings had evolved into an interconnected ecosystem, with Zara's living quarters nestled at its heart. The structure breathed and shifted subtly with the plant's growth, exactly as Lyrian dwellings were meant to do. Elias arrived earlier than usual, carrying a small container. His research team had received notice of inspection from coalition authorities, and he'd come directly from the meeting. They're sending officials to evaluate all xenobiological projects, he explained, setting the container on a table fashioned from local wood, including your garden. Zara's skin rippled with concern, purple hues darkening slightly. The treaty guarantees my right to establish this habitat. Technically, yes, Elias said, running a hand through his hair, a human gesture of frustration she'd come to recognize. But they're citing ecological integration protocols that might require modifications. Modifications would disrupt the harmonic balance. Zara replied, her normally melodic voice tightening. Some of these species communicate through root systems that must remain undisturbed. Elias opened the container, revealing a bottle of amber liquid. Hence, I brought reinforcements. Earth whiskey, my father's remedy for bureaucratic headaches. Despite her concern, Zara smiled. Lyrians don't process alcohol the same way humans do. More for me then, he chuckled, pouring a small amount into 2 cups fashioned from gourd fruit shells. Though it might affect you differently, perhaps worth an experiment. Their fingers brushed as he handed her a cup. These touches had become more frequent, less accidental. 2 successful diplomatic relations, he toasted. Zara sipped cautiously. The liquid warmed her throat, spreading a pleasant, tingling sensation through her limbs. Interesting. Not unlike our ceremonial nectar, though less sweet. As night descended, they sat beneath the dwelling's open center, where stars were visible through a circular skylight. The whiskey bottle gradually emptied as they discussed strategies. For the upcoming inspection, tell me about Lyrian courting rituals, Elias asked suddenly, his voice slightly husky from the alcohol. Zara felt her skin's luminescence. intensify her species' equivalent of a blush. Why do you ask? Scientific curiosity, he said, with a smile that suggested otherwise. We're rather formal compared to humans, she explained. There's a period of mutual cultivation, like tending a garden together to see if compatibility exists. Elias leaned closer. And what would you call what we've been doing these past months? The question hung between them, heavy with implication. Zara had been aware of the growing tension, the lingering glances, but hadn't allowed herself to name it. Interspecies relations are complicated, she said softly. Life is complicated, he countered. Loss is complicated. This, he gestured between them, feels like the simplest thing I've experienced in years. Perhaps it was the whiskey, or the months of shared work, or simply the way starlight reflected in his eyes. But Zara found herself reaching toward him. Her purple fingers traced the contours of his face, exploring differences, the coarser skin, the subtle beard growth, the warmth that radiated from him. On Lyria, she whispered, this would be considered quite forward. Ilias's hand gently covered hers. And on Earth, this would be considered long overdue, when their lips met. It was like different worlds colliding, cool against warm, purple against tan, yet somehow creating perfect harmony. The plants around them seemed to respond, their luminescence brightening, as if celebrating this new connection. For the first time since leaving her devastated homeworld, Zara felt she might be growing roots of her own. The inspection day arrived, with ominous clouds gathering on the horizon. Coalition officials in crisp gray uniforms moved through Zara's garden with scanning devices and sample collection tools. Their lead inspector, Commander Reeves, made notes on a tablet with sharp, disapproving taps. Several of these species aren't in our approved database, Reeves stated, her voice clinical, and the integration of dwelling and vegetation exceeds permissible boundaries for xenobiological containment. Ela stepped forward. With respect, Commander, this habitat was specifically authorized under Article 7 of the Diplomatic Exchange Protocol. Science regulations supersede diplomatic courtesies. Dr. Parker. Reeves glanced pointedly at how closely he stood to Zara, especially when objectivity might be ... compromised. Zara felt a protective instinct surge within her. These plants pose no threat to Nexus 9's ecosystem. They form a closed, symbiotic network. So you claim, Reeves replied. Our preliminary scans show spore patterns that could potentially spread beyond your allocated zone. The commander nodded to her team, who began placing marker beacons around the perimeter. We'll need to establish a quarantine field until a complete analysis can be performed. Standard procedure could take up to 6 months. 6 months? Elias protested. The disruption would kill half these species. Then perhaps they weren't suitable for transplantation to begin with, Reeves countered coldly. The coalition prioritizes ecological security over sentimental projects. As they argued, the weather shifted dramatically. What had been threatening clouds suddenly developed into one of Nexus 9's notorious ionic storms. The air crackled with purple-blue electricity, and warning sirens blared from the research station in the distance. We need to evacuate immediately, one of Reeves' team called out, checking a weather monitor. This is a Category 3 forming. We can't leave the containment markers incomplete, Reeves insisted. Finish the perimeter. Elias grabbed Zara's hand. The dwelling's protection systems aren't fully activated yet. It can't withstand this level of ionic discharge. Zara looked at her garden months of work. Irreplaceable specimens from her homeworld, perhaps the last of their kind. I need to initiate the emergency protocols. There's no time. Elias tugged her toward the evacuation vehicles. You go, Zara pulled away. I must complete the resonance sequence, or everything dies. The coalition team was already retreating, Commander Reeves shouting orders as they rushed toward their transport. Elias hesitated only a moment before making his decision. Tell me what to do, he said firmly. Together they raced through the garden as the storm intensified. Zara's fingers danced across specific plants, activating natural defense mechanisms bred into Lyrian flora over millennia. The plants responded, bioluminescent patterns shifting from tranquil blues to protective ambers. "The central chamber," Zara directed. "We need to trigger the full spectrum response." They reached the heart of the dwelling just as the first massive lightning strike hit nearby. The structure trembled, living walls contracting protectively around them. Inside the chamber, a matrix of crystalline formations needed precise activation. "Both of us," Zara explained quickly. "Place your hands opposite mine." The plants respond to bioelectrical signatures. As another lightning bolt struck dangerously close, they positioned themselves at the crystal matrix. Zara's purple hands aligned with the formations on one side, Elias's human hands on the other. The difference in their physiologies created exactly what was needed, a complementary energy pattern. The entire garden seemed to come alive at once, a ripple of protective energy spreading outward. Plants folded inward, roots pulled deeper, and the living structure sealed itself completely. In the sudden quiet of the sealed chamber, illuminated only by emergency bioluminescence, Elias pulled Zara into a fierce embrace. "I thought you were going to send me away," he whispered against her hair. "I considered it," she admitted. "But I've learned something important from humans. Sometimes protection means standing together, not apart." Outside, the storm raged. But within their botanical sanctuary, two beings from different worlds had never felt more at home. The aftermath of the ionic storm revealed unexpected blessings. When Zara and Elias emerged from the sealed dwelling, they found the garden not only intact, but thriving. The storm's unique energy had catalyzed something in the Lyrian plants, accelerating growth and enhancing their natural properties. More surprisingly, Commander Reeves' scientific equipment had recorded the entire protective response sequence. The data clearly demonstrated that Zara's garden didn't require quarantine. It had developed self-containment, capabilities beyond anything in Coalition records. "The Defense Department has expressed interest in studying these protective mechanisms," Reeves explained. Her former disapproval replaced by reluctant respect. "They're offering research funding and expanded land allocation in exchange for collaborative study rights. No experimentation that harms the ecosystem," Zara insisted. "And I maintain final authority over all integration decisions." "Agreed," Reeves said, extending her hand in the human gesture of agreement that Zara had come to appreciate. "We'll draw up the formal terms immediately." After the officials departed, Elias and Zara walked through their transformed garden. New blooms had appeared overnight, filling the air with sweet aromas. The living structure had grown additional chambers, the walls now patterned with intricate, luminescent veins. "It's responding to us," Elias observed, touching a wall that subtly shifted beneath his fingertips. "To both of us together." On ancient Lyria, there were legends of dwellings that adapted to emotional bonds between inhabitants, Zara explained. "I thought they were myths. Maybe they were just waiting for the right conditions," Elias suggested. He took her hand, his expression growing serious. "I've received an offer to... Research Division wants me to lead a new Xenobotanical Institute here on Nexus 9. Zara felt a flutter of concern. "Would that take you away from ... this?" Her gesture encompassed the garden, and implicitly, what had grown between them. "Actually," he said with a smile, "I told them I'd accept on one condition, that a certain Lyrian botanical expert be named co-director with equal authority. Is that permitted under Coalition protocols?" Zara asked, her luminescence brightening with hope. "It would be the first such arrangement," Elias acknowledged. "But after what happened during the storm, they're eager to demonstrate new approaches to interspecies collaboration." Zara's fingers intertwined with his purple against tan. "Cool against warm, different yet perfectly complementary." "There's something else," she said softly. "The dwelling's expansion. It's not random. It's creating a nursery chamber." Ilias's eyebrows raised in surprise. "A nursery? You mean Lyrians are more compatible with humans than either of our scientists believed possible?" She explained, a luminescent blush spreading across her cheeks. "The garden sensed it before I did." Elias was silent for a moment, processing the implications. Then he laughed a sound of pure joy that Zara hadn't heard from him before. "When I came to Nexus 9, I was running from memories of the family I lost," he said, placing his hand gently against her abdomen. I never imagined I might find a new one, especially not with someone from another world. Perhaps that's the greatest discovery of all, Zara suggested, that across the vastness of space, different beings can create something new together. As twilight descended, they stood in their garden beneath the stars, stars that no longer seemed to separate their worlds, but instead connected them in one vast, beautiful constellation. The purple-skinned Lyrian and the human scientists had created more than a botanical sanctuary. They had built a bridge between species, between worlds. Around them, plants from a distant planet thrived on new soil, adapting and evolving, just as Zara and Elias had done in finding each other. Their garden would continue to grow, nurturing the unprecedented life they had created together, a new beginning born from the ashes of their separate losses. In the soft, bioluminescent glow, they sealed their commitment with a kiss that promised a future neither could have imagined alone, a future as vast and bright as the galaxy that had brought them together.